Greetings and welcome to Pickled Watermelon Rinds, a guilty pleasure podcast featuring Auntie Joan and Ontie, providing our zesty and marginally mature take on current events, pop culture, and trends. Now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Blessings.
I didn't know you were saying that. How long have you been saying that?
Oh, for several weeks now.
Oh, that's hysterical. I had no idea.
Blessings. Yeah.
Oh my
Blessings.
God, that's awesome. Okay, here we go. Well, hello, Auntie Joan.
Hi, Auntie.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Happy summer. Sure feels like it today, doesn't it?
It does. Happy summer to you. Enjoying the sunshine and the warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's overcast now, but of course, when we're trying to see the pink moon,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're not going to be
That's
able to see
right.
it tonight. So, at least not up here. It's completely clouded over.
Are you going to make some moon water?
I make moon water all the time. What do you mean?
I don't know. There's this whole thing on Instagram or Reels about the Wiccan with the
Oh.
full moon and making moon water. You put your
Left foot
jars,
in, you put your left foot out, you put your left foot in, and you shake it all about.
you put your jars of water outside in the full moon, and I don't know.
No.
Maybe it brings us magic, maybe, eh?
Magic, eh? I don't know. No, I'm not doing that. There is a full moon hike up to St. Mary's Glacier tonight that
Oh.
I would have done, but they confirmed that it's completely snowpacked. So you'd have to wear
Ugh.
like spiky shoes or snowshoes, I guess. They didn't say snowshoes, but they have spikes at least. And it's going to be cloudy. We're not going to see it anyway. So maybe sometime over this. I think they do it every month. So maybe sometime over. So I said I was interested, but not going. So hopefully I'll continue to get that in my feed.
Is that still called St. Mary's Glacier, or does it have another name now?
That's all the people around here call it. I don't know.
Seems like when you take I-70 up the mountains, they call it something else on the big road sign.
I don't know.
Huh. Yeah.
I've never been.
On I-70?
No, silly St. Mary's Glacier. I was interested in a house listing in that area. My realtor is like, absolutely not. I said,
Really?
oh, he's like, no, that is no joke. Winter living up there. You cannot do that. So I never went and saw it. So I was like, hey, fine. But anywho, yeah. And
Yeah, you don't need any more challenges to winter living.
I'm challenged enough.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Speaking of, I've had a little run-in with a new appliance as part of my little washer dryer renovation here.
Yeah?
Oh my God. I had the same washer and dryer at my old house from the day I moved in until the day I left. So 13 and a half years, rock solid, never had any issues. And so I said, you know what? I want to get the same brand. You can't get the same model anymore. I don't know if they even make it anymore. They might. I just don't think it's as easy to get as it once was. But they were the ones I liked were the Whirlpool Duet front load washer and dryer. Those were great at my old house. Couldn't say enough about them. Recommending it to anybody who would listen to me. So I got Whirlpool washer and dryer for this new renovation, and they're big and they're wonderful. And the dryer failed in less than 24 hours on load number 3 and hasn't worked since.
Wow.
And Whirlpool is just not supportive of the quality of their products. They have zero customer service. Now, I will say my cautionary tale to everyone is when you buy appliances, do not do what I did. I bought my washing machine from Costco. It is Whirlpool. It's working fine. And if there was ever an issue over the next 365 days, I could return it to Costco with no questions asked.
Really?
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, they were out of stock of the dryer.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I went directly to Whirlpool and purchased the dryer direct because I wanted to make sure I got the same model. Because at that point, I wasn't sure what the configuration was going to be for my new washer and dryer renovation. Was it going to be stacked? Was it going to be side by side? I wasn't sure, but I wanted to make sure that they could be stacked if we went in that configuration. So I hastily went off to Whirlpool and purchased the dryer, and that was my mistake. Whirlpool does service first. Before they even entertain the notion of replacement or entertain the notion of a return, they will only try and get you service. Now, as we all know, I live in a remote location. So finding service where I live is proving challenging for our friends there at Whirlpool. But they've given themselves, as part of their policy, 8 days beyond. So I called initially on Monday. I got a call on Tuesday saying they couldn't find somebody immediately in my area. I said I would like a replacement. They said, oh, we're going to send this to our specialist team and they'll get back to you within 8 days.
8 days.
8 days. I talked to 3 other people since then. Between Tuesday, well, really Wednesday, 3 more people on Wednesday, and there was not one thing anybody could do but tell me I had to wait until the specialist team finished their job of going to a larger demographic to try and find somebody that will come and service this machine at my house.
Wow.
And even though I told them I don't even want it anywhere because based on the poor customer service that Whirlpool has provided, they do not care. I'm in their warranty process and there is no deviation, not for circumstance, not for the fact that it failed within 24 hours, not for the fact that I had it delivered on March 10th and it failed by April 6th and it was only installed on April 5th. So less than a month since I received it to when it was installed. None of that matters. None of it matters. And I kept telling them, I have no problem that I received a defective unit. What I have a problem with is how you guys are attempting to remediate the situation. And this is not a customer-friendly remediation process. But there's nothing I can do. They did give me the name of the CEO of Whirlpool, Mark Bitzer, and his address at 553 Benson Road in Benton Harbor, Michigan, 49022. So I can write a snail mail letter and send it to him about my issues. But that was the only attempt at an escalation that I could muster.
Wow.
And I was lucky to get that because I really just asked for the executive over the repair and service department. But the person I spoke with didn't know who the hell that was. I said, you don't know who your executives are? And he said, I know who the CEO is. I said, great, give me his name. Give me his contact info. So anyway, buy your appliances. Best to buy them from Costco if you can. Costco, of course, doesn't have everything. So if you're very interested in a specific brand and a specific model, you might be out of luck. Or a Best Buy might even have a better policy. Always check the policies first before you get going. But do not buy directly from the manufacturer. In this case, it was Whirlpool. I got to believe other manufacturers have similar processes.
Yeah, probably.
Don't know. Save yourself the headache, the anger, the agitation, the rage that I was feeling. And the tears that flowed as a result of not being able to get a resolution and everything else. And it's also hindering finishing my project because it's such a tight space where these things are being installed. I need to make sure that they are functioning properly before my contractor can finish putting the countertop on and the cabinet around it and all that, because it's just going to make it that much tighter for somebody to come and do something, in that kind of environment. So that's my woes. I'm really disappointed and really angry at Whirlpool, but I'm trapped because I'm not going to eat $800 on this dryer.
Oh my gosh.
So that's where I stand.
Wow. I remember when you could get of course it was a basic dryer for like $300.
And you probably can't remember this had to be front loading because of where I was putting it. So I was really limited to what I could get. But again, I had such a great experience with Whirlpool Duet at my previous house.
Yeah.
I just was like, I definitely want Whirlpool. To be fair, the rest of the appliances in my house, the refrigerator I did buy, but the stove, the microwave, and the dishwasher, all Whirlpool as well. Everything in my house is Whirlpool. I tried playing that card. I tried playing I'm a loyal customer card. Did not matter. They did not care. Nothing worked.
Now, when I got my refrigerator, I got that from Costco.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like once it was picked up from the driving company who was going to install it also, they washed their hand. They turned it over to that company.
Costco?
So when they delivered the refrigerator, they could not bring it in and install it because of the way that the hose to the
water line,
to the ice maker it wasn't up to code or whatever. So then it sat in the garage for, I don't know, a couple days. Meanwhile, I don't have a refrigerator that works. So yeah. And then I finally it was a mess. It was a mess. I just, yeah. Why don't they do things like they used to? I almost think if you buy from a small hometown appliance company, maybe, you get some benefits like customer service. But then again, the prices are a lot more, you don't get
Right.
the advantage of the price drops and all that stuff. So I don't know.
But you weren't trying to return it. You were just trying to get the water line.
I was trying to get the thing installed,
Right.
period.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They wouldn't even bring it in because of the water line.
That was taking it to an extreme because I know when I got my refrigerator here, they told me the same thing, but I bought it from Lowe's and the guy's like, technically we're not supposed to do this, but we'll do this.
Oh.
And they just did it. They were great guys, two wonderful guys that came,
Mm-hmm.
so Lowe's may be a good option as well for folks. Like I had a good experience with them, but yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I wasn't trying to return it.
Yeah.
I wasn't in need of a repair. It was my install thing that
Right.
needed to be fixed. So
Right. But still, you would think that because I didn't know, like when they showed up and said, technically, we're not supposed to install this water line. And I was like, he's like,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah.
like, do you want me to? And I was like, please. And he said, okay. And they just did it. I don't know their names, so I'm not getting them in trouble because it's been years now, so I don't remember their names. But it could have been the same situation, though, because it sounded like, you're right. Had they not been gracious to offer, do you still want us to? It sounded like I would have been dead in the water, too.
Yeah.
So did you have to have a plumber come out and do it, or?
Oh, it's been over a year now. So
Yeah.
he was telling me I needed a certain type of fixture or something
Mm-hmm.
attached to what was there already.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I got what I needed. And then I had my next door neighbor come over and have him install. Oh, see, I'm trying to remember now. I think what I did is I finally told them, well, just bring it in and forget the ice maker. I'll deal with that later. So they did. But I did get that attachment thing that I needed. But then when my next door neighbor came over, he says, oh, we don't need that. We can just plug it in like it is. And it works. It's worked ever since.
See, I had that one problem a year ago where the water dispenser stopped working. I'm just guessing some mineral or something got stuck in the filter somewhere and caused it not to work for a couple of weeks, and then it magically started working. It's been working ever since. Oh, but the water line itself has never been an issue.
Yeah, or the connection.
Yeah, I don't know.
Leaked or
I don't know what the code thing is, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully we don't. Knock on wood. Hopefully neither of us need another refrigerator.
Well, you got a fancy schmancy one. I got the bare bones, with the ice maker, and it shouldn't have been such an ordeal.
Yeah.
But anyway, but it's like, with the refrigerator, with the washer, with the dryer, with the stove.
These are essential things.
Yeah, you don't go 8 days without even hearing from them.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be 10 days technically because Monday, Tuesday didn't even count against it. So another 8 days will be 10 days. And I assume business days, not calendar days, but they didn't say that. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's what they meant. So anyway, yes, it's very, very frustrating. Thankfully, I did not get rid of my old portable dryer. So I still have that. And it's been nice out and it's supposed to be kind of nice for the next few days. So I can at least hang things out and all that. So I'm still using the washing machine. I just used it again yesterday. That, knock on wood, it's
oh, that's still no overflows
working
or anything.
well.
Huh?
No overflows. Worked really well. So yeah, it's just the dryer. But
Isn't
you've
it wonderful?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I hope it doesn't break. That's all. I'm just paranoid about it now.
I know.
Like I said, never even thought about this at my old house. Not once. Never even entered my head. And now I'm like, I better run it because I want to make sure it still works. Did I need to do laundry yesterday? Not really. But I was like, you're doing a little laundry because it was nice and I wanted to hang stuff out. So I was just like, you know what? We're doing laundry. Whatever we got, we're doing. So anyway, but you had some good progress.
Yeah, the flooring is in my basement. So that's done. And I just need to get the bathroom rebuilt or whatever they're going to do. And man, I'm looking forward to getting back and getting sewing. And I've already figured out, well, this summer's the perfect time because it's cool in the basement. I don't need to run the air conditioner in the daytime then if I'm downstairs.
Unless Killian's there.
Well, he'll come down. Maybe not, huh?
Probably not a good idea.
Oh, well, then I'll run the air conditioner for Mr. Killian.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah. because he's worth it.
Yes.
Damn it.
Well, that's exciting. I know you've been wanting to get this resolved and back to normal, and big, ginormous step complete for you. So that's very, very good.
And I've even talked to one of my stepsons. He's going to come over this summer, and we're going to finally clear out a lot of Larry's old airplane stuff. And,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good progress.
Yep. One day at a time, eh?
That's right, sister. It's going to make me laugh every fucking time. Sorry. Oh, we forgot, folks, what we are drinking. We're actually doing we're doing a happy hour recording because of the projects we have going on at our house.
That's right.
So, Auntie Joan, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking my own version of the Wisconsin Southern Comfort Old Fashioned. It's a fruit salad with Southern Comfort, and I'm loving it, thanks. How about you, Auntie?
That's it? Just fruit and Southern Comfort?
And 7-Up. I put 7-Up in it.
Got
And
it.
some Angostura bitters.
What?
Angostura bitters. It's kind of like Worcestershire sauce, but it's sweet.
I see. I see.
Sweet with bitter notes.
Mine's much easier. I just have a glass of Pinot Grigio.
Oh, well.
Because it's warm out. When it's warm out, you drink white wine. White wine is for breakfast.
Oh.
Or hot weather. Red wine is for colder weather and lunch and dinner. Now, you can also drink white wine into lunchtime as well. But I guess so lunchtime is either red or white. But if you're going to have like breakfast cocktails, you should stick with a white.
But if you're having a fish or seafood dinner,
yes,
shouldn't
you should
that
have
be a white wine?
It should be white wine,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Technically. But honestly, drink what you like. Nobody cares.
That's
The
right.
wine police are not coming to get you. Don't you worry.
Well, I don't know. It depends on where you're going. Where we go, no, there's no wine police.
There's no wine police. And even if there were, I'd take them on. Especially after some wine.
You go, girl.
Well, cheers, Auntie Joan.
Cheers to you, too.
Hopefully our projects will be wrapping up.
Yeah, we need it. We need it.
We need it.
Yeah, I'll drink to that.
All right. Now we're on to some crop tending. We've got something that we're watching. We both watched it independently. We did not know. Well, Auntie Joan told me she was watching, we'll get the documentary, which I had no interest in, not realizing that I had already been watching the dramatization of the same documentary that Auntie Joan was watching. And then it all came to clarity earlier this week. And I was like, oh, that's what you're watching?
but it did not really come to clarity, did it?
Oh, no.
We're still confused
this
about
whole
the whole
story
thing.
is insane.
Yeah.
So now I will turn it over to Auntie Joan to tell you about what we're watching. Go ahead, Auntie Joan.
Okay, so this all started for me when I was watching my daily The View, and their guest was Dule Hill.
Oh, I love him.
I love him too.
Ever since West Wing.
Oh, now see, I didn't see him on that. It was Psych where I first saw him. Yeah.
Yes, West Wing. He was fantastic. He was the president's aide.
Yeah.
He's his right-hand guy.
Well, on Psych, he actually did tap dancing and stuff like that too.
And we like that remake. Did you end up watching that? They canceled it last year or the year before. The remake of The Wonder Years.
Oh yeah, I did.
And he was the dad in that, and he was
Oh
fantastic.
Very good. Very good.
Fantastic. It was a great story. I'm so sad that went away.
Yeah. I thought it was a good story.
I thought it was better than the original, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Auntie Joan.
Okay. He happened to mention that he accepted this role in this drama series on Max. It starts on Max, and then it plays again on Hulu. Or no, it doesn't, does it?
No, you said the documentary's on Max, but the dramatization is on Hulu.
Anyway. Where was I? I think I need another drink.
Dule was saying how
Dule was talking about how he had taken this role on in this movie called
Good American Family.
Good American Family. And that got on the topic of the girl that the whole thing is about, who is Natalia Barnett Mans. I don't know what her last name is today, but so when I saw that, I thought, okay, there's a drama series on it. And then I looked and I also saw Oh, there's a documentary series about it. I'm going to watch that first. And I am glad I did. So I watched that, the first 2 seasons. Mind you, there's 3 seasons of this documentary
Three?
series. Three.
Oh, I thought there were only two.
The last one won't start on Hulu until I think next week, but you can watch the last series on Max. It's on Max, which I did. I can't get enough of this story.
Yikes.
Yeah, yeah. It gets weirder and weirder. So anyway, I started watching. What it's about is this little girl from Ukraine comes to the United States and she gets adopted by this family called the Burnetts. And this little girl has a form of dwarfism. So she's very, very tiny for her age. And she also has medical issues because of that. She has trouble walking and what have you. So I'm trying to remember the mother's name. What was her name?
Christine.
Christine Burnett had made a name for herself because she had an autistic son and she was able to get him into Princeton or Harvard or someplace when he was like 13 or 14 years old. Turns out he was a genius mathematically and he was into physics and all this stuff. And she made a name for herself about how and offered advice on how people can raise their children who are on the autism spectrum and make their lives worthwhile. So she also opened up a daycare school. She wrote books about all this. So she became like an expert on raising a child on the autism spectrum and been on TV and all this stuff. So she decides they want to adopt a little girl. They had 3 boys already and they wanted a little girl. So they were going to adopt this one and that fell through and they were really very sad about it. And then all of a sudden they get a phone call saying, there's this little girl in Florida. If she doesn't get picked up and fostered in the next 24, 48 hours, she's going to go into a home. So they gathered together all their stuff and went down and picked up this little girl. And well, Christine and Natalia just didn't hit it off, I think, as well as Christine would have liked. And Natalia didn't have the genius that Christine's older son had. So she was just like your typical kid. Well, then they start coming up with this. Well, okay, so I'm going off here on tangents. Supposedly, Michael, the adopted father, wakes up one night and hears Natalia at the end of the bed with a knife standing in her hand, standing at the end of the bed, threatening. And other things happened. Supposedly, Natalia said things about killing the boys and what have you. So the parents decide they need to do something. They had called the police, all this stuff. The police come, and one of the officers says, well, you're not going to be able to. Well, basically, he introduced the idea to them that they could get Natalia's age, get her re-aged. And there's these steps you can go through and what have you. So,
but before that, Christine met up with the previous
adopting family.
Yes, met up with that woman. According to the dramatization, remember that's the only part I saw. So she met up with her, and she's the one that begged the question of Natalia not being the age that she portrayed. And at that time, Christine had found used pads.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. Oh yeah,
yes. That Natalia was hiding in her closet. So she had her period at supposedly 8 years old, which is, guys out there, that ain't how it works.
Well, and the night that they picked her up, supposedly, Christine was giving Natalia a bath and she sees that Natalia has pubic hair.
Right.
And freaked out. So
that all led up to the police coming.
Yeah.
That was
that and the threats.
Right. I meant to say not led up to, but happened before that policeman showed up with the threats, with the knife.
Yeah. People, this thing gets weirder and weirder. I mean, you just end up going down a rabbit hole with all this stuff. You just can't believe all this stuff happened. Anyway, they finally get her legal age changed from 8 years old to 22. There's this whole thing where Christine and Michael are trying to keep Natalia away from them and the family, and they finally found a way to do it. They get their oldest son, the one on the autism spectrum. They get him this special enrollment at a university in Canada. So the whole family's going to move up to Canada except for Natalia, and they put her up in an apartment by herself. And then there's all these stories about how she was at this apartment. She would tell people, well, I look young, but I'm really 22 years old. And people questioned her behavior. They felt she acted older than a child. She finally gets evicted because of things that she had done at this apartment building. She gets evicted from there. The Burnetts have to come down and put her in another place. And they put her in this place in this horrible neighborhood. And she's got to go up all these stairs to get into her apartment. Anyway, I could go on and on. This was all in the documentary. She finds safety and camaraderie with this family called the Man's family. And he is a bishop in this church he started. They've got 10 kids that they brought in as foster kids or adopted kids. And they bring her in, and supposedly right away she turns over her Social Security because she gets Social Security disability. She ends up getting adopted by them, by the Man's family, and then they have issues with her. So it's just a long, convoluted story. And I think when we open this up for discussion between you and I, maybe we can get a little more into what was going on, because the drama series is told, compared to the documentary series, the drama series is told from the viewpoint of the Burnetts, the adopted mother and father that brought her up to.
At least for the number of episodes that have been released thus far.
Right.
There's still 2 remaining episodes. And at the end of the latest one that we saw, it did seem like they might be shifting to give you more of Natalia's perspective. But we don't know yet. That's just our assumption based on some of the dialogue at the end of this last episode. But yes, thus far, 100% has been from the Burnett's perspective.
Had I not watched the documentary beforehand, I would have thought this girl is crazy.
Yes.
But when you watch... And she was really pulling it over on everybody, that she really was an adult woman. When you watch the documentary series, the first season is all about Natalia getting adopted, them questioning her age, the court, because the father ends up going to court being accused abandonment of a disabled person. They could not bring into account her actual age. Of course, we still don't know, do we, what her actual age is. They had a spinal doctor say that when he first saw her, like when she was 8 years old, supposedly, her growth plates hadn't compressed or whatever. He says, you don't see growth plates like that in an adult. And they talked to the dentist who took x-rays of her teeth. He said there were still 12 baby teeth in her mouth. You don't see that in an adult. By the time somebody gets to 12, 14, 16 years old, they've got their permanent teeth. However, the family doctor had been persuaded to say that, well, yeah, she could be older. So that's the first season. The second season is Natalia Speaks, and she gives her whole story about all these things and her point of view and what really happened in her eyes. And then the last season is what she went through with the Man's family, who were the other ones to adopt her later on, and another family who also have the same disability she has, the same form of dwarfism. She went and lived with them too, and they went through a lot of stuff also. So yeah, it's a crazy, crazy story.
It really is. The only reason I started watching the dramatization, Good American Family, is because Ellen Pompeo is in it, and I like her as an actress, and I forget the guy's name. Anyway, he's been in other things that I've seen and I thought he was a good actor too. So I was like, oh, this ought to be interesting. Then because I really had no idea. I just saw those 2 people on the trailer kind of thing and was like, oh, I like them. I'll watch this. And then as soon as I started watching, I'm like, oh my God, I know this story. And I'm like, I remember hearing about this through the news or people talking about it. Because, I don't typically watch the news, but I definitely knew about it. And I was like, oh, right. She's really an adult that's portraying a child. And that is what it was, is about. But at the same time, I didn't know that there was a docuseries associated with it at all until, like I said, we started talking talking and figured out that we had been kind of watching the same stuff without knowing it. So
one thing that was said is that when this policeman came, I think it was, he said, well, you've had her 4 years and she hasn't grown an inch. Or maybe it was the doctor. Anyway, you've had her 4 years, she hasn't grown an inch. That's not a child, that's an adult. A child would still grow in those 4 years. But then when you look at the documentary and you see how she looks today, 8, 10, 12 years later, definitely looks a whole lot different than she did back when she was first adopted. So,
yeah, I think there was a lot of circumstances that led to where things are. I think she came over from a foreign country. Whoever brought her here or put her on the plane over here or whatever clearly doctored her birth certificate. The picture on the, at least according to the dramatization, the picture on the birth certificate does not look anything like Natalia. I think she has mental issues. For sure. And I think that, you know, all the threatening things that she did and all that, I don't know, kind of seems like she probably did some, if not all of those things. I think she's just a disturbed child or person. She's a disturbed person. I don't know if she's a child. I don't know if she's an adult. I don't know. I find it where I have pause not seeing the documentary is where these doctors who supposedly saw her back when she was, you know, when the Barnetts were first investigating her true age. I don't understand how the Barnetts, it doesn't make sense to me that they had a totally different opinion. I mean, they had legal documents brought up and she had to sign those documents to go live on her own and, you know, admit that she was 22 years old. Again, all part of the dramatization. I have no idea what the documentary said. You know, I don't know. I'm having a hard time just accepting that these people saw her back in the day, early 2000s, are only now as part of this documentary series saying, well, no, when I saw her, you know, all those years ago, she didn't have the platelets weren't, you know, fused or whatever the hell it was in her back. And, you know, she certainly had, because in the dramatization, they said that at that point, they confirmed that she had all adult teeth. That was like one of the nails in the coffin to say that she was not a child. On top of the period, on top of, you know, a bunch of other things. And now this dentist is now saying, well, when I saw her, you know, she had 12 baby teeth still. And it's like, well, I don't get it. And the Barnetts were not rich. They didn't pay off anyone. They were not rich.
Now that's interesting you say that, because at the very beginning of the very first episode of the documentary series, docuseries, Michael, who, believe me, people, he is way over the top. He says, yes, 12 years ago, I had a Ferrari in my driveway and I had 3 sons and we were living the life and everything was wonderful. And then it all went to hell, basically. If you watch the docuseries, he's always got himself a sports car. And according to the docudrama, according to A Good American Family, it's like he worked at Circuit City or something.
Right.
In the docuseries, I don't think they ever said what his job was, what he did. But they had like 4 cars, and I mean, and the house that they lived in was quite nice. It was in a very nice neighborhood. So
yeah, because at that point they were both. I mean, she was starting up the daycare, but she was. I mean, again, according to the Good American Family, she had to borrow money to open up the daycare. It wasn't like they just had the money.
Yeah.
And then she had to borrow more from a friend, you know, because she had to go spend some money on when they first adopted her, they said the Barnetts had to pay for some of her medical bills.
$7,000
that she got done before the Barnetts even adopted her. They basically said you basically can't leave with her unless you pay this. So they extorted money out of them.
Yeah. They said in the Good American Family too that the adoption agency shut down, but in the docuseries that's never mentioned. As a matter of fact, they go back, they have some type of interaction with them after Natalia comes to their home. And they did find her mother in Ukraine, and they did a DNA test, and she's like 99.9999999% match. And the mother says she was born like in 2003. And they have her birth certificate
with her picture on it.
Well, a birth certificate doesn't have your picture on it.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't buy any of it. I think they're
all
fucking insane. And I think they all have their issues. I mean, they certainly don't portray the Barnetts as this wonderful, beautiful family that has no issues. Let's be clear. Not in, I mean, in the dramatization, they do not. It's not like they're perfect and she's just the nutty one. They're all insane. And I think Christine was just trying to get famous. That was her goal. She was trying to, she did every talk show, even when her autistic son flat out said he didn't want to do the interviews. She still pushed him to do them. She was definitely a fame monger. And Michael Barnett was just a lunatic. I mean, in the dramatization, I told you I like that actor, and it was starting to really grate on my ever loving fucking nerve to watch him on screen. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I liked you as an actor. Like, this is terrible. And then Auntie Jones sent me clips of the real Michael Barnett, and I get that this guy is actually holding back.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
Because Michael Barnett loser is the biggest word
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he just is a tool, a complete and total tool.
I just kept thinking he's like some kid in high school who was just in a school play and somebody said, oh, you did a really good job. You're a great actor. And then he just goes, that becomes who he is. He's just way over the top, way dramatic. Ugh.
And then the other two sons, actually, we don't see too much of them. I mean, they're in the dramatization, but they're more filler. Honestly, they don't really have, other than, I guess, again, in the dramatization, Natalia cut off the head of one of the kids' stuffed animals or whatever with the knife. That's how they found the knife in the first place, under her bed. And she tried, again, in the dramatization, she tried to supposedly poison Christine and the boys.
Oh, yeah, that was
she
explained.
tried to, she said that she wanted to kill the boys and wrap them up in a carpet and bury them. And she wanted them in carpet because she didn't want them to, so they didn't get cold. And she also put her mother and her were having an argument on the ride back from somewhere, and she put her hands over her mother's eyes while she was driving as one of the sons was playing basketball in the street. And she supposedly pushed Christine into an electric fence at her mother's house.
That was discussed in the docuseries also. When you hear the other side, and it wasn't just her, they also interviewed people who worked there. This wasn't at her mother's farm or whatever. This was at a place where people would take their kids, to go to the farm and pick fruit or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, some of these people that worked there had said, first of all, she was so tiny. There's no way she could have pushed the mother down or tried to drag her into that fence. And then one of the other guys said that fence probably wasn't even on that day because the cows weren't in that field. They were in another field, so they don't turn it on if they're not there. So it's interesting to get her side of the story. Natalia's side.
But I also don't necessarily believe
absolutely
that she's telling you you know what I mean?
So
like I said, they're all insane. This whole thing is just one big insane asylum, in my opinion. They're all lying. There's truth somewhere, but I don't believe it's coming from any of them. The parents, Natalia, I don't believe any of them.
I will say the oldest son, autistic son, he ends up living with his father. The mother takes the three boys and kicks out the father. Well, the older son ends up moving in with him.
I thought he was going to Harvard.
Oh, that was before. That was earlier, like 5 years ago or something. In the more recent time, he moved in with his father. Although I don't know if they don't go into if he even finished school. That's another thing that's kind of up in the air. They don't ever bring that to a completion either. But then the story isn't about him, is it?
Right. But he's an adult now. He is at least 18. I know he went to college early, but he's at least 18 if it's been 5 years, right? Because he went to Harvard when he was like 13 or 14, right? So
yeah, but I mean, Natalia now, if she was born in 2003, she'd be 22. So the oldest son, is probably closer to 30, I would think. Now,
I thought you said it was just 5 years ago that he was in Harvard. It was 5 years ago since he was in Harvard. And he went when he was 13.
No.
He'd be 18.
Don't ask me about dates and times. I just, one.
Okay. But basically, he went to live with his father when he was an adult. He made that decision as an adult, not when he was still
right.
Yes.
Like at 18 or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. They don't go into his schooling or anything like that, just as a way to get out of the United States.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's quite the interesting.
As far as I'm concerned, as far as the dramatization, I mean, I'm going to see it to the end because I got this far. I don't necessarily think it's good or bad. Like, the story's just fucked up. And I don't have a real opinion one way or another about it. I don't necessarily believe the dramatization. I don't know why it was made.
Oh, it was interesting.
But they were doing this docuseries. So why do a dramatization if there was already a docuseries and they don't match? Like, it seems kind of stupid. Whatever. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know about the docuseries when I started watching it. I just knew of the story. But at the same time, it's like it just seems like everybody's just got their hand out. All they're doing is looking for money.
Yeah.
All of them. Across the boards. Natalia, 100%. Definitely, well, Christine always did. Again, according to the story that I've seen, that she always was looking for fame of some kind. Although you said she refused to be part of the docuseries.
Yeah, she wasn't on that at all, but probably because she was afraid of how she would come across.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Natalia also had been on the Dr. Phil show, which I didn't know. But then that doesn't surprise me either.
They all got their hand out. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. I get that they have unfinished business between themselves, but the fact that they went down this docuseries and dramatization path and all that, they're just looking for money. They're all just looking for money. They're looking for their payday. Little notoriety, a little fame, and some money, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think that Natalia had a rough life, all things considered, just being born, with a disability and then being shuffled around from one family to another. And I mean,
but some of that sounds like it's of her making.
Well, I don't know if you're 8 years old,
If she was 8 years old.
Well, I think she was.
I know you do. I'm questioning that still.
No. At the most, I think she could have been 10. But no, she was still a child.
Watch it at your own discretion, folks. I don't know what to tell you. I don't necessarily recommend it. I don't say stay clear of it. I'm ambivalent about it, to be honest.
Oh, I tell you, after that first season, I thought Michael, he's the one that drove me up the wall. I thought, I can't watch any more of this. This guy is just crazy. And then I just went deeper and deeper in it. So, yeah.
All right, then, Auntie Joan. Anything else for our listener today?
No, I think we've kind of worn this to the end.
All right. Well, that wraps it for yet another wonderful Pickled Watermelon Rinds episode. This is Auntie signing off.
And Auntie Joan saying bye-bye now.
We thank you for listening. And remember, when life eats away at your core, make pickled watermelon rinds.